This is the Sick'em Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Online at alansamuelsdcj.com. The Sick'em Podcast is a production of Baylor Athletics. Now, here are your hosts, Brooke Bednarz and the voice of the Bears, John Morris.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to this week's Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. We're glad you're with us with our Sick'em Podcast this week, and we've got a real treat for you. I do say that every week, but
this one is extra special.
Oh, extra special with a cherry on top. We are pleased to have two members of the Baylor Athletic Department staff who happen to be husband and wife. Joey Scrivano is with us, Baylor women's tennis coach, and Courtney Scrivano, Associate AD for Marketing and Fan Engagement. And look at them sitting over there as we record this.
So
Isn't
cute.
this great?
They're a true Baylor family.
I know. The only thing, they're not holding hands right now. If they were holding hands, it would be perfect. But no, we appreciate you all agreeing to do this. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Thanks
for having us.
Good. I think people will want to hear about how you met, what's it like working in the department together, things like that. So thanks very much for your time. We should say Courtney sort of oversees what we do, with the Sick'em Podcast. So we had to bring this idea to her. She had to approve it. Did you take it home to Joey to approve, or how did that work?
Yeah. I'm not allowed to commit him to media appearances without his previous approval.
It's a good thing.
Well, we did have some fun. Kyle Robarts being the SID for Sports Information Director for women's tennis. I did email him the first go-around, and I said, all right, well, we're going to schedule this, but, we're already scheduling it with Courtney. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to let the married couple do the scheduling themselves.
That's a good idea. Well, thanks again, like I said. And so let's start at the beginning. How did y'all meet? What's that story? I don't know. I think I know parts of it, Joey, but I don't think I know the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm going to let Courtney take this one.
All right.
Okay. Well, we actually met through a mutual friend. Uh-huh. So Leah Stewart, who owns the Olive Branch, great restaurant here in town, was hosting a dinner party and just invited a group of her friends, and we were both there that evening, and I had actually brought my parents along. And so Joey met my parents the same night he met me officially. But yeah, that was kind of the start of getting to know each other. And then I think you tracked me down after that dinner, and said, like, to get to know me better, go for coffee or something like that. And so, yeah, that's kind of what kicked it off for us.
Well, I actually saw Courtney for the first time a couple of years earlier.
Right.
And I was out, and she was with her sister, Lene, and I knew Lene before I met Courtney. And I was like, wow, there's an attractive person I'd like to talk to.
She's pretty.
Yeah, she's pretty. I'd love to talk to her. So I actually was, summoning the courage to introduce myself, and I don't know what it was. There was a moment where Lene, I don't know if she was looking at me, maybe the person behind me, I have no idea, but she gave me a look. That was my perception, like, don't come over here. So I was like, there, all the courage was gone. I just was like, I'm not going to go do this. But Courtney, she really stood out to me, like I was like, wow, well, I guess I'll never, get that opportunity again. And then 2 years later, I think it was 2 years later, at the Olive Branch, I met her and her entire family that evening, and that was the start of it.
Lene does not remember this, by the way.
Really?
I was about to say, have we discussed this with the sister-in-law now?
She has said, no, I don't remember that. She has no recollection, and so it was probably an unintentional thing. But it's just timing. I think it was kind of a funny little. I think maybe God planting a little seed, and then later on, then the timing was really right. I think for both of us, then we actually did meet, and it was. Worked out, obviously.
Love the Palmyres. How can you not meet the Palmyres and not want to be a part of that family? Right?
Yeah. So that night at the Olive Branch, Dale, Courtney's dad, is just the biggest Baylor fan of all time. So he really put me at ease, because he's just like basically like thinking, treating me like I'm this special person because I'm a Baylor coach, and it really helped me with my nerves, you know. So then I felt like, okay, you know, maybe I can talk to Courtney, and so he's amazing. And then Nancy, who is just complete opposite of Dale, you know, she really could care less. If sports went away tomorrow, she really could care less, you know. And she's constantly asking us, like, why do you guys care so much about whether Baylor wins a football game or, you know, so it's really funny. But what an amazing family.
Well, and you kind of did it backwards. Normally, you're nervous to meet the father and hope that he's going to like you. And then this was backwards, and he's like, yeah, you're great. This is Courtney.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, bringing a Baylor coach home is like smooth sailing in my family. Yeah. Everyone loves Baylor sports, and so, yeah, they welcomed him with open arms.
Good.
I think Courtney had the bigger challenge, which is the Italian mother-in-law.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a different world.
That is
right
the other
there.
side of it, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, but no, she's wonderful.
Italian, Canadian also. You are Canadian. I think most people know that. What have been the challenges with that, if any, along the way?
Well, yeah, my parents are Sicilian. You know, they moved to Canada. You know, they met in Canada, but they're actually from the same region of Sicily.
Okay.
And obviously, you know, started a family. I was born in Canada, and it's fascinating because, you know, I do feel like I'm Canadian, but at the same time, there's a strong Italian history in our family, and there's a lot of the culture. Just no matter what I do, it's still there. Like just the impact of that Sicilian upbringing. Well, it's never going to leave me, you know. So yeah, so it's just kind of cool because, you know, I've realized recently that I could become an Italian citizen if I'd like, Canadian obviously, but I'm not now an American citizen, which I'm really proud of. So we got options there. But,
nice.
Yeah.
To the point, Brooke, that Joey is just a nickname of his given name, which you know is Giuseppe.
I did not know that.
You know, that's it. Is your email that or not?
No, it's Joey.
Email's Joey. Okay,
yeah, it's Joey.
Right.
Yeah, I kept it simple for everybody. Yeah.
I don't know if I could spell Giuseppe.
I remember G.I. Joe. It's Giusseppe. Sometimes it's spelled G-U-I.
Yeah.
So when I was dating him and trying to remember how to spell the formal,
G.I. Joe.
I would think G.I. Joe.
G.I.
Yeah.
Joe.
And there's people that have told me, no, you got to spell Giuseppe G-U-I. And I'm like, no.
Right.
I mean,
It's
I think
my
I know
name.
how to spell my name.
Right.
But yeah, it's fun.
Well, you guys got to come up with names for two little ones. Tell us a little bit. You guys were married in 2014, and now you have a family with two young boys. So tell us a little bit about them.
Yeah, they're awesome. It's super fun. They're wild, and they're both really stubborn. Nico was a really difficult little baby. He cried a lot. And then moving into his toddler years, very just wild, and he's rambunctious. And then Luca came along and was just the sweetest, most mild-mannered baby, you know, has slept well, has eaten well. But now that he's about to be 2, his little stubborn streak is coming out. So we're like, okay, we thought we were getting like, you know, an easy one here, and now we're getting into the terrible 2s with him. But no, it's really fun. Nico and Luca, so drawing on Joey's Italian heritage, and I'm a whole blend of things, but I do also have Italian. I was just looking at Italian boy names when we were expecting, and we didn't find out what we were having either time. So I had boy and girl names prepared, but Nicolo just stuck out at me, and I thought, you know, Nico is cute, and if he gets older and wants to be called Nick, that's fine. But his middle name's Paul, which is Joey's middle name, and means humble and victorious if you put those two together, which I really liked the sentiment of that. And then Luca is Luca Edward. Edward is my dad's middle name. So and his name means light, which he is. He's just he's such a little bright spot in the family. So yeah, they're awesome, and we're super proud of them.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen pictures of them.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great pictures.
Yeah.
They don't take a bad picture.
Well, Luca looks identical to Courtney. It's amazing. Like every time, you know, I wake up, you know, get him out of his crib, I'm just like, gosh, can you look any more like your mom? I mean, so it's they're really cute and amazing, and still keep us up at night.
Question is, have you put a racket in their hands yet?
We have. We've we're being strategic. We're not going to force it too much, but occasionally we'll put the racket in the hand and just try to get them to hit some balls. And
Luca, you can tell, really likes sports.
Yeah.
Joey can be watching basketball, and he'll go and he'll sit and watch with him. Joey bought a documentary on Michael Jordan, and Luca sat there for 30 minutes and watched it. Wow. 2 years old, can sit still and watch it, and likes to, shoot baskets in the house, like take a little ball and throw it in a laundry hamper. Nico doesn't do anything for an extended period of time, but I've been joking with my fan engagement team that he's really into parkour because he jumps all over the furniture. Yeah. He's climbing into his brother's crib. He's jumping on the beds. He's, bouncing off the walls all the time. So it may be a little while before we can get him to focus in on a skill sport.
Yeah.
What season is it? It's truck season at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks are raring to go, ready to work and play, and all feature the best deals of the year during Ram Power Days. Come get your brand new Ram Lone Star at Allen Samuels with 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $9,250 in bonus cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Shop, apply, buy online. We deliver. Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels.
Whether on the field or cheering from home, Du Bois Furniture is proud to support the Baylor Bears. If your bear cave needs updating, Du Bois Furniture is here to help. With over 59 years of our family serving yours, let our experienced sales team help you find exactly what you want. We specialize in custom upholstery, stunning dining rooms, elegant bedrooms, gorgeous leather, and top quality mattresses. Come see us in Waco and Temple or visit us online at DuBoisFurniture.com. Du Bois Furniture, where beautiful homes happen.
Now, back to the Sikkim Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat.
Well, before we dive into, obviously, you and the women's tennis department, Joey, Courtney, you just mentioned one of your teams, fan engagement. I want to know, first of all, you lead several different units, little groups of us, on top of being a mom of 2 little ones. So how do you balance being a mom to those lovely little boys that are wild and rambunctious and also managing so many different departments? Kind of tell us about that.
Yeah. I think balance is a hard word because a lot of times it doesn't feel balanced. I think juggling is probably a little more accurate. And, it's, there's weeks that we feel like, hey, we got this. We're in a good flow. Everyone's doing well. And there's weeks it feels like this is chaos. What are we doing? But we have a lot of help. My family is in town, and my parents are just awesome grandparents, and they're very hands-on. And we have an incredible family that cares for our boys during the workday. So it's truly a village because there's no way we could do what we do without a lot of help. And then on top of that, we don't add a whole lot else to our plate besides our work commitments and our family. So that gives us a lot of, when we're not working, we're spending that time together, which is really important. And then it makes the time that we have precious. So, looking back on these past few months of it being a little slower pace and being home more, it's been really precious. And I feel like we've kind of soaked up every moment. But it's messy and it's chaotic, but it's fun. And I think we probably all thrive a little bit off of that. So a day at a time.
Well, is there also a sort of a shared, I don't know the right word, shared interest, shared vision, because both of you work in the athletic department, and so you have to have an understanding a little bit more than somebody who's not in the department, Joey, of what she does, and vice versa, Courtney, with what he does.
Yeah, totally. It's very much a partnership, and, there are times that Saturday, for example, he had practice in the morning. So I'm home with the boys the first half of the day. And then he rushes home from practice and kind of takes over. And then I head to the football game. So I'm not going to say that we always do this as well as we should, but we try and communicate when we both have things on the schedule and plan that out. Call my parents in a panic if we've miscommunicated on something. But yeah, I think it is really cool to have a shared interest and to understand, what we're both, the industry that we're both in and what we're both balancing.
Yeah. Well, obviously they're young, but That's got to be, it's a cool life to kind of grow up and be around and to go to tennis matches and go to different sports. So kind of, Joey, what do you think how special is that you guys get to kind of raise them around Baylor athletics and be the true Baylor family that we always, specifically Courtney, try to get out there to the world?
Yeah, it's really neat. It's so different than the way I grew up. Courtney grew up in Waco, and she's, her earliest memories are going to football games, and she's a true Baylor fan. She really bleeds green and gold. But my upbringing was really different. My family just doesn't even really care about sports. I mean, there's no interest in sport at all. So for me to actually become, learn how to play tennis and get a scholarship and get into coaching. My mom still thinks I'm working in gymnasiums right now. Okay. So for our kids to just be immersed in this Baylor life, is just incredible. It's what, I would dream of as a kid, to have this experience. So, it's really neat. And they don't, I don't know if they realize it yet, but I think they think I'm pretty cool because I coach tennis, but their mom is way cooler than their dad. And what she does is really incredible. Like it was an eye opener to see the commitment that an associate AD has to this career. I mean, you are truly all in 24/7. And I suspected that was the case, but now I'm really seeing it firsthand, and it's amazing. You got to really have a passion for this career in this industry to do what she does.
And I would say you're probably the same way with with your team, with your sport, coaching your team. How has being a dad affected what you do and how you do it?
That's a great question. I think now definitely the perspective has changed and looking at things through a different lens. But, I basically now I just look at everything I do with our student athletes, and I always ask the question, how would I want my kids to be treated or how would I want their experience to be? And it's really it's changed my way of coaching, definitely. It's like a 180. And not that it was bad before, it's just given me a different way to look at things, and pressing the pause button and thinking about that, it definitely is, I think it's made me a better coach for sure.
Would you say that this switch has been even more beneficial because a good amount of your team is international, and so they are really far away from their own parents?
Yeah. I think I've always had a sense that they, as an international student athlete, the expectations of you as a coach are greater, because you're right, they're so far away from home, and in essence you become their second family, and they really rely on you. There's things that a regular or a domestic student athlete, it's an afterthought. Going to the grocery store is an afterthought for them. Mm-hmm. International student athlete, that becomes a challenge for them, and we'd all think, what? But it's so true. If you go and stick me in another country right now, that's finding a grocery store, and it's just different. And maybe I don't have a bank account set up, so everything, especially the first year for an international student, their dependence on you as a coach is just way greater than I would say any other student athlete.
Was there a point in which you sort of maybe shifted your focus to international recruiting, or was it that way all along, or what was the thought process along the way there?
Yeah, well, tennis is such an international sport, so you have to look globally to find the best student athletes. So that's a big part of it. But I started in coaching at everywhere. My first stop at the University of Mobile as an assistant, and then later I went to the University of South Alabama as a head coach. I had a lot of international students, so I was very comfortable working with international students. And then I started learning how to recruit overseas, and that kind of started the trend going in that direction. However, we've had some teams here, that were primarily domestic, and actually, a lot of kids from Texas. So I don't really have a preference. It's more just about getting the right people and recruiting people that fit your culture and what you want to try to achieve, and that's really the biggest challenge.
Right now, the roster is a good chunk international. How did COVID affect that? Because obviously all the students went home, or at least were trying to, but it started overseas and then seemed to make its way over here when everything shut down. So what was that like? You mentioned how dependent they are, and then that had to be kind of a nerve-wracking time for them. Yeah,
absolutely. It was frustrating because they needed a lot. They need a lot of support. Like I mentioned, and now you can't really see them, especially at that time. We didn't know, all the ins and outs of the virus. So you have to be, you can't really go and grab a coffee with them, and you can't go help them with X, Y, or Z, because you have to keep this distance. So that was just incredibly challenging and counter to what we normally do. Like I spend a lot of time with my athletes and a lot of time one-on-one in person, and just picking their brain and listening to everything that's going on. And now all of a sudden that was just completely taken away. Now, thankfully, for the technology like Zoom, and we're all sick of hearing the word Zoom, but it definitely helped in that adjustment. We were using Zoom quite a bit, so that helped to ease the transition.
Did a lot of them get to go home, or were they still here?
About half of them went home, and then half were here. But yeah, that was difficult because they didn't know if they were going to a better situation at home, and then they're getting on a plane, which is probably the riskiest thing you can do. So that was just a tough time period, But like Baylor always does, we went above and beyond, and we made sure that our student athletes were taken care of. And all the credit in the world to Mac and Jeremiah and Jovan and Kenny. I mean, they all they all got on board with, okay, let's do whatever it takes to make sure these kids are well taken care of, and that helped tremendously. So.
How did you navigate recruiting? I guess a time like during the summer when you would be gone a lot.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that didn't happen this year.
No. I haven't been on a plane in a long time.
Yeah.
It's probably the longest stretch. I can't even remember the last time it's been this long. But anyway, we just, you just have to adapt. And I was actually excited in this way. The hard part about this job is, you have the recruiting, you have the player development, and then you got to prepare for matches. And these, if you want to do these things well, they take an enormous amount of time. So once the season was over, that's obviously to have to get ready for a match. Then the player development, we couldn't be with the kids on the court. So now I was able to just completely focus on recruiting, which was I really enjoyed that. I was like, now I'm gonna just dive into this, and the benefits of that, we landed one of the best international recruits in the country, and she's going to be arriving in January. But the ability to focus on that one thing was tremendous. That's one of the only silver linings in this whole deal.
451 career wins going into this year, 25th all-time NCAA women's tennis, and 12th among active coaches. That number's getting up there, 19 years here at Baylor, or going into your 19th year.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Winning is fun.
It is good. And I should say 19 combined Big 12 titles, also regular season or tournament titles. So you have a tournament coming up this weekend, actually, one here in the fall.
Yeah, that's great news. Our players are so excited. It's been a long time since they've competed as a team and have the coaches on the court, and they're thrilled. I think it was like when we finally got our fall schedule approved. I mean, they were just jumping up and down. It was like Christmas. We're going to have a tournament this weekend and kind of see where we stand right now and what we need to do to get better. And there's no substitute for competing, and we really need this. And we're the amount of gratitude we have that we have the opportunity to do this. It's through the roof right now. So.
Obviously, there was a long break, but you guys were 10-2. You'd won the first 2 Big 12 matches before COVID kind of put all the seasons to a screeching halt. How do you feel as though your team is right now in comparison to where you guys were back then?
Yeah, I felt like we were moving in the right direction, and we had really high hopes for what that team could do. And no different now. I think, if anything, the team has grown a lot in a maturity perspective. Adversity does that to you, and I would say the players have come back with even more gratitude with just the opportunity they have to compete. When that's taken away from you, you realize, gosh, we have this is pretty darn good. We have a great setup here. And so they've come back, and they're, all with open eyes, and they're way more coachable than they've ever been, and they just appreciate the opportunity. So it's really fun to see how much they've grown, and I think this team can be as good as any team we've ever had at Baylor.
I know you take a lot of pride in your student athletes when they're here, but then when they go on from here and go into their careers. Linka Brusova is one of those, and she's been selected to the Baylor Athletic Hall of Fame for this year. What a great honor that is.
Oh, it's amazing, and Lynx has deserved she's one of the all-time greats. I mean, I think one of the all-time great athletes at Baylor. And if you spend any time speaking with her, that she bleeds green and gold, and she's such a winner. I'm so proud of her, and I'm excited to celebrate that honor.
If you need a trailer, Flat Rock Trailers has got you covered. From light-duty single-axle utility trailers to the Big Tex tandem duals. We also carry a full line of enclosed cargo trailers. Need a motorcycle trailer? We've got them. Need a dump trailer? We've got the largest selection in the state. Oil field trailers? We carry a full line of Big Tex trailers to handle all your needs. Trailer repairs? We repair all makes and models. We'll even rent you a trailer if you need to use one for a day. Flat Rock Trailers, your #1 source for all your trailer needs. Find us at flatrocktrailers.com.
TNG can, and here's why.
To say my wife and I have a lot to clean is an understatement. So we go to TNG Chemical, where the pros know what cleaning solutions to use and give us detailed instructions on exactly how to use them. We never got that kind of advice from any other stores. And the prices at TNG are great. From general household cleaners to odor control solutions for our pets. We go to TNG Chemical and Supply. That's why.
TNG Chemical and Supply. That's why.
You're listening to the Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics. Here again are Brooke Bednarz and John Morris.
You're tuned in to the Sick'em Podcast, a production of Baylor Athletics, presented by Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. John Morris, Brooke Bednarz, with our guest, Courtney Scrivano and Coach Joey Scrivano. And Courtney, how did you get to athletics? What was the opening originally when you came here, and what do you remember about when you started out in the athletic department?
Oh yeah, well it's been a fun kind of winding path to athletics. A lot of folks in our world come up the ranks, and it's hard to break in if you haven't sort of started out in this field. So. Obviously there's people along the way that help, but my first entry was I had a couple jobs out of college here in Waco and decided if I'm going to stay in Waco, I really want to work at Baylor. And so I started working in university development as a writer, and had the opportunity to kind of work in that communications department for a while. And then I left for 2 years. I went to Dallas right as the George W. Bush Presidential Center at SMU was opened, and worked there for 2 years. I had met Joey right before I took that job.
And left town.
For all of you listening,
to get away, but no.
He just shook his head.
Yeah.
No, we had been dating about a month, and I said, hey, I have this job offer in Dallas, and he was great, extremely supportive, and said, you have to do it. It's once in a lifetime type of thing. And so yeah, we were able to kind of navigate that just, with a couple hours distance for 2 years. And then when we were planning a wedding and knew that we were going to spend our lives together, I started thinking about coming back to Waco and what that would look like, and reached out to Doug McNamee, who was someone that I had known from my previous work at Baylor, and he's friends with my brother. So I knew what he was doing with the Bear Foundation, and just how that was growing. And he had such a vision for what we were doing with our boosters. And so I had contacted him and just said, I'd really, love to work with you. And so we stayed in touch over the course of a couple of months. And then he eventually had a position, marketing and communications position open with them. And so I got to, apply and come in and interview with a bunch of folks. And ultimately, he did bring me on the team. And and so that was kind of how it started. But I had identified athletics specifically because when I worked on campus, when I worked for development, any project I had that had an athletics component just lit something in me.
Really?
And it was always my best work. And it was always the things I enjoyed the most. And so, Joey and his career aside, I knew that was something I was passionate about and a field I enjoyed. And then, of course, within a few months of working in the athletic department, it just was like, oh yeah, this is kind of the right type of fit for me, and being able to do things in the realm of marketing communications, which are the skills I like to use. It's been a good fit. And so, yeah, over the course of, I think it's 5 years in athletics now, it's shifted and it's grown and it's moved different areas. And when Jovan Overshone came in, and she and I started working together, we see things very similarly. And so she and Jeremiah have kind of been just incredible cheerleaders and helped sort of create other opportunities and ways to grow within this department. So I'm really fortunate.
Well, obviously we know what you do, but describe a little bit about what your day-to-day tasks are and all the different things that you have your hands in for everyone listening.
Yeah. So for my role, I oversee the fan engagement team, business intelligence, and social media. And licensing is kind of floating around in there too. It's really under Jovan, but I assist her with that. But yeah, fan engagement is run by Chad Klumpnauer. You guys know Chad. He is a veteran of this department. They need very little oversight. They know their jobs. They do them tremendously well. And they're a really fun team to work with. And then I actually poached Cody Soto over from the athletic communications team. Thank you, David Kay, for blessing that move. But we brought Cody Soto over to oversee our athletic social media accounts. So he's doing a phenomenal job and is awesome. And then we have Addison Rumbley, who is our community engagement person. And it's just, it's just a really fun team. Spirit and Traditions falls under that too. So in this role it's been a little over a year in this role, I've gotten to learn a lot about athletics and, learn more about different elements of it that I've never been a part of. But, it's all about creating an incredible atmosphere for fans, driving attendance. So obviously this year, that's a little bit of a different thing for us. But it's fun. It's, as a longtime Baylor fan, it's the things I'm very passionate about. So it's really enjoyable.
Fan engagement is fascinating to me, and the job y'all do is terrific. But it's changing. It's always evolving, isn't it? You got to stay on the cutting edge, I guess, of what fans want, what keeps them interested, what keeps them coming to games and coming to events.
Yeah, absolutely. And you saw the trend starting, before COVID, but the digital element. So, having an app where you're at a venue, but you're still, on your phone, utilizing an app to enhance the experience. There's all kinds of things like that. What's cool is that we work across teams. So we work really closely with the Baylor Vision team. We work really closely with creative services. So it's by no means like just our team, but it's pulling all of that together and making sure that it's a memorable environment for fans. But at the end of the day, nothing replaces the action that's happening on the court or on the field. And so while we want to add all of those things to it, it's also very much about supporting the team and the athletes and making it a great experience for them to compete in as much as it is a great experience for fans to attend.
How surreal is it, if that's even the right word, to have grown up going to these games and to have just been kind of soaking it all in? I remember when I was a little kid, just being like in awe of everything that was happening at the game on top of the actual athletic event going on. But to now know all the ins and outs and all the people that it takes to make that happen and to be a big role into that, what is that like for you?
Well, I disagree on the big role. I mean, that's my team, and that's so many other people that are taking the lion's share of the work that goes into it. But yeah, it's really cool. I mean, every fall that there's a point in the year where the band starts practicing across the street, and when I hear them playing, it's kind of like something, a little flip switches of, oh, it's fall and sports are going to start soon. And then it's at football games and basketball games and all the things we do, there's just an excitement to it. And you guys know this is a job with long hours and it's up and downs and it's not always easy, but there is something about, being there and having that front row seat to the action and to the environment that's really cool.
And how different have things been this year? Like normally we would be pushing season tickets and pushing single game tickets and things like that. It's just a different approach this year, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you take all the goals and all the things you thought you were going to be focused on this year and you throw them out the window.
Yeah.
And you say, okay, what is the reality that we're dealing in now? And similar to Joey, I think there was a moment, especially for my fan engagement team, who, I mean, they live for game day and they're so good at what they do. And so to have events paused, I think there was kind of that moment of, oh gosh, like now what do we do? But we kind of quickly circled the wagons and identified projects that had been on our radar that we wanted to take on and just typically in a year don't have time to get to. So, I mean, obviously the podcast, that was a bunch of teams involved in that, but we refreshed the app. We did the BaylorGameDay.com site, which aggregates a lot of information about football games for fans to easily access. A couple other projects in the works that we'll announce soon, but it allowed us to just shift our focus to some other things and think of creative ways to continue communicating with fans and creating a great experience for them, whether they're able to come to our venues this year or not.
I also want to ask you, obviously we talked a lot about what your jobs are and he kind of touched on it and supporting you and knowing all that goes into being an associate AD, but what is it like to also, on top of all of your roles, to also be a coach's wife?
To be honest, I mean, it's pretty cool.
It's got to be a lot of fun.
I think it's, I mean, I don't know. I would imagine it's probably not super common in this industry to be able to have those two specific roles. But I feel very privileged to be in that position. I love my job. I love the team and the people I get to work with in that. And then, of course, I love being a coach's wife. Specifically, I love being this coach's wife. I mean, and I tell him every spring, when they get into the heat of competition, like he's doing what he was made to do. And it's really cool to kind of be a partner and the biggest cheerleader in that. But yeah, I mean, I think it's just a privilege. And with that, it's also a responsibility. So, there's a level of professionalism that you always have to have. And we both take that really seriously. At the end of the day, like in our roles, we do what's best for Baylor athletics. And so, yeah, as much as we, share what's going on, with each other in our jobs. And I think we understand that a lot. There's also times of separation and, focusing on the job at hand. And so, yeah, I mean, I think we both take it pretty seriously and are really grateful for the opportunity.
I do want to know, do you play tennis?
Oh, good question.
So that was actually like when we started dating, we went out and hit a little bit. So I played a lot of sports growing up, but I never played tennis. I admittedly knew very little about the sport. But yeah, we would go out and it's not really playing. I mean, it's a lesson, he'll do drills and we haven't as much lately, but we actually did just 2 weekends ago, we hit a little bit. but yeah, I mean, I've fallen in love with the sport. I absolutely love watching it. The girls and the guys. It's just a really fun sport to watch, and I've learned a lot about it. I'm still not. I mean, I'm not good, but it's fun.
She's pretty good. She's pretty good. Yeah, she you picked it up pretty fast, I would say. Or either that or I did a heck of a job coaching.
A little bit of both. I have.
I don't know. This record says you're a heck of a coach. So
no, she's good. She's athletic and she really is coachable. So she was picking it up really fast. We would go and I'd put her through this drill. It's the Nadal drill. So I just run her side to side. And sometimes the players would walk by and be like, "Coach, you're such a jerk." And then she's like, "No, she wants this."
I'm like, "This is cardio."
Yeah,
so
this is cardio. Yeah. Great. No, it's good. But I want her to keep playing, obviously, for her enjoyment. But if Nico and Luca start to play, here's a practice partner.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Yep.
Well, and you've got the mechanism in place with the Cub tennis program. Tell everybody about that, and hopefully we get that going again in the spring.
Oh, it'd be great to have that going again. And that really started because of Courtney's niece and nephew. When we started dating, they were, age 5 and 7? They were pretty young anyway.
Yeah, I think so.
And I was giving them lessons and trying to expose them to tennis because obviously, it's Texas and Alan, the boy, is into football and she's into basketball. And so I'm trying to, create a recruit for me and Audrey, the girl, and trying to create some support, fan support with Alan. But anyway, I start teaching them how to play, and I'm thinking, gosh, I should just have this as a program. Yeah. This should just be a program, and that was kind of the beginnings of it. We just started having Cub tennis before every home match, and then it really took off. And the last few years, Jazzy Plews, who's on our staff as a student assistant, she's taken it over and just done an amazing job of growing it. And I'd say it's definitely one of the highlights of our program.
What season is it? It's truck season at Allen Samuels. Ram trucks are raring to go, ready to work and play, and all feature the best deals of the year during Ram Power Days. Come get your brand new Ram Lone Star at Allen Samuels with 0% for 72 and no payments for 90 days. Or choose up to $9,250 in bonus cash and incentives. Ram, the highest pickup owner loyalty in America. Shop, apply, buy online. We deliver. Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels.
I hate my job, but I don't mind getting up in the morning. I dread each day, but I can't wait to get out of bed. You ask me why, and what I'll say to you is true. Well, you can get breakfast tacos at Rudy's Barbecue. Scrambled eggs and brisket, they ain't fooling around. Salsa drap, son, they're the best in town. Barbecue for breakfast, yes, it's true. Put a smile on your morning at Rudy's Barbecue. Next in line.
This is the Sick'em Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
Visiting with Joey and Courtney Scrivano. A couple more questions, then we'll move on. But Courtney, you mentioned you worked for 2 years, I guess, at the George W. Bush Presidential Center in Dallas. What was that experience like?
Yeah, no, it was really, really cool. I mean, I look back very fondly on those 2 years. I met so many just wonderful and interesting people, and it was a totally different experience, totally different environment to work in, and but really, really neat. And I didn't have a lot of direct contact with President and Mrs. Bush, but you learn from being in that environment and being around the people that work closely with them that they're just phenomenal people and incredible leaders. And so there's a lot of lessons learned that I, carry with me. But one thing that's kind of cool is when you leave the Bush Center, they set up time for you to meet with President Bush. And usually it's pretty restrictive in terms of your immediate family, your spouse, and if you have children. But I begged and pleaded and got the opportunity to bring my parents along,
nice.
Just as kind of a way to say thank you to them for all the investments they've made in us. But he was awesome. We came in and he spent a lot of time chatting with my parents. And then at some point his attention turned to Joey and he said, and what do you do? And so Joey, said, I coach tennis at Baylor. And he said, well, what qualifies you to be a Big 12 coach?
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
And I don't even remember what you said.
I know what I was thinking. What qualifies you to be president? But no. He didn't give me a chance to go back at him. He's a pro. I mean, he knows how to.
Quick wit.
You don't want to get into a debate with him.
No, exactly. No, I took that one on the chin and no, he was amazing. He gave us almost an hour of his time, and it was just fascinating. And but what a cool experience at the Bush Center. I would love hearing the stories of Courtney working there, because it was such a Washington, D.C. culture. But it's this nonprofit that, and so anyway, it was pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, no, it was neat.
Yeah. I mean, when he was in office, when he was about to get out of office, he started thinking about his presidential library, and Waco was one of the options. I mean, it really was either Waco, Dallas, or where? Maybe Austin or College Station?
College Station, I think.
Maybe College Station. But this was – so where McLean Stadium is now could have been, the location of the George W. Bush Presidential Library, and things worked out well for everybody.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
He did mention that, too. He mentioned that they had looked at that, and, but ultimately SMU makes a lot of sense for them, and they're in a perfect spot there. So, and we have the beautiful McLean Stadium, so it worked out okay for all of us.
It worked out well for everybody.
And they have the ranch down here, so.
That's right. Yeah.
True.
They have their own ties.
As we've got football going, we had a football game last Saturday. That's great. Joey, do you think everything's on the path, if we stay on the straight and narrow path, that you'll have some semblance of a regular type season coming up?
Yeah, I do. I'm optimistic. I just think, not that I'm an expert here, I'm not going to take Kenny Boyd's, don't want to steal his thunder here, but I do think that every day that we get past this, we're getting closer to just, a new normal, sort of like after 9/11. That impacted us, it's impacted us forever. It's changed the way we live, but we ultimately got past it and thriving. So this, in my opinion, is no different. And we'll be playing college tennis and college sports, and we're going to get beyond this. Yeah.
You guys have a tournament this weekend. I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but kind of what are the precautions for that? Because most of our teams, it's a one game. They test and they go play the one game. But to be in a tournament, that's several teams in one location. Kind of what's that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, we go through all the Big 12 protocols to make sure that everybody is tested prior to the tournament, and our athletic training staff, health and wellness staff, are amazing at how they coordinate that with the other schools, and so we feel really comfortable. If we are fortunate enough to be safe and be healthy and be able to play, then once we're at the event, then it's a kind of, you in essence create a bubble and then we're fine. I think tennis is one of the lowest risk sports out there because it has so much social distancing and it's outside typically. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of positives of a sport like tennis, in regards to this. I think we're going to be fine.
And Courtney, in your role as Associate AD for Marketing and Fan Engagement, won't it be great when we get back to the point where we can just open the doors and, we don't have limits. It doesn't have to be 25%. We can welcome fans in. That's going to be nice.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're eagerly waiting for that opportunity, but in the meantime, we're trying to make the best of it and make it as great an atmosphere for those who are able to attend and continue to offer cool things for people that can't be there. But yeah, I mean, I think when we're at a point where we feel comfortable with that and when we're able to have full capacity, I think a lot of people are also really eager to be back in venues and so yeah, maybe it's a little opportunity for just for people to be excited to come and take advantage. I mean, I think specifically in Waco, to take advantage of the opportunity to come and watch really high-level college competitions across all our sports. And we have several sports, including tennis, that are free. And then a lot of our other sports are very low ticket costs. So, at the point that everyone's comfortable with that again, I hope that people do take advantage of having this opportunity in Waco, because it is a great, fun, family-friendly thing to do.
Well, and they were rocking and rolling. There was a lot of good sports to watch last year, and we're on track to do the same thing this year, so it'll be exciting. And I was going to say, we even had a lot of I know we pushed the hashtag Sick'em. Show us your tailgates. Show us all your pictures. If you can't be at McLean, let us know what you're doing. And we saw a lot of very creative at-home tailgates. So that was really neat to see that even if they aren't there, that the Baylor family is still extending out and taking part as much as they can.
Yeah.
Good. Well, thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. Talk about the Baylor family. This is literally a Baylor family.
Yes.
You, Joey, and you, Courtney, and Nico and Luca, and we appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing with us. Stay safe, and thanks for being on with us today.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Joey Scrivano and Courtney Scrivano with us on this week's Sick'em Podcast. For Brooke Bednarz, I'm John Morris. We'll see you next week with another edition of the Sick'em Podcast.
You've been listening to the Sick'em Podcast, presented by your friend in the car business, Alan Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat in Waco. Online at alansamuelsdcj.com. The Sick'em Podcast has been a production of Baylor Athletics.